Miss Andrews, are you okay?
Definitely not. I'm actress Valerie Allen, and I play Amy Andrews in the new film, The Empty Space.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
A violent attack leaves her without her boyfriend, her home, her sense of self. Amy, like so many of us, suffers from mental illness. As she tries to get her life back together, she's haunted by terrifying visions that may or may not be real. Empty Space goes beyond the slasher and takes you deep into the void. We hope you join us as our film premieres on streaming. We also hope that not only are you frightened, but you gain some insight into a serious problem that affects so many people, including the filmmakers.
I know how it sounds. What if it's real?
The Empty Space, a terrifying new vision from director Andrew Hara.
What's up, guys? It's Andrew Hara. We're doing a audio-only podcast. Welcome back to Retro Bomb Squad, where we did an audio podcast, which is good because Josh is dressed like a serial killer for some strange reason.
I'm a normal man.
You won't be able to see it, but we can, and
I might look like the guy from the Lovely Bones, but that wasn't
you
intentional.
100%. It does.
No.
You're missing out, audience.
Stanley Tucci's cool. I'm emulating him.
That's what I got from that movie. I was like, you know what? When I saw that movie, I was like, you know what's cool? Stanley Tucci in this film.
The Devil Wears Prada is definitely my go-to, and Transformers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot he's in Transformers. He plays that's
the
the
best
everyone's
part.
a genius.
Those movies have like a stacked cast that is not used well. Anyway.
I always think that Michael Bay loves the Coen brothers because he takes Coen brothers actors and he puts them in his movie to do nothing. I'm like, good for you. Get that paper. Get that paper. The dude who plays the cashier in No Country. So if you've heard this voice, you know that we have a special guest. William is buying a house or some nonsense. So we brought a guest on. We brought one of my close friends. Josh doesn't have any friends, sadly. I mean, if you saw how he would look, you would understand why people avoid him. But we brought on Eli Pando from IShape Productions. Eli, welcome to the Bomb Squad.
Thank you so much. Sorry about the no camera situation, but I am happy to be here. Yeah.
Can you say that less sarcastically, Eli?
No, I really am. I'm can't contain my excitement. This is dope. This is really cool.
It's not helping.
No.
You're like,
Thank you.
bro.
Thank you.
I've never been this happy in my life for sure.
No.
So tell us a little bit about IShape Productions, which is your production company, right?
Yeah. So IShape Productions is a brush company that's based in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It is ran by me and my best friend since forever, Patrick Sanchez. Him and I started this production company about almost 9 years ago. And at first it was just us making our own short films and turned into doing actual cool commercial work and production work. Primarily right now we're focusing on collaboration efforts. So we are helping other local filmmakers be able to produce some of their own films. And we pull our favors. We'll look for some gear for them, locations, and just produce it for them. So it's been a really cool year so far. I've met a lot of nice, awesome, amazing creatives like you. So I kind of met you. So it's been really great. Primarily, we kind of do a lot of artistic and action, eye-catching visual work with a sprinkle of a narrative in there. So
cool. Well, and also me and Eli worked on that short that's coming. It keeps getting better, so it'll be cool. And then we're working on something else fun for Halloween. I don't know if it'll be out by Halloween, but I do know that we'll film it by Halloween.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, so
it's gonna be magic.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun waste of my time for I think this one joke is funny. I hope other people think it's funny too. It's one of those shorts. So Eli, what do you guys got working? What are you working on now, other than helping other people?
So right now we actually just I think right now, let's see, what are we in? And almost a
September.
coming, yeah, September we had filmed the, or no, I'm sorry, August we had filmed a Rorschach versus V from V for Vendetta short film. Um, kind of like a throwback to like those old YouTube videos of like putting two
Yeah, like
figures that don't
Batman
belong.
versus the Predator, stuff like that.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. There, that was like, YouTube during that era was like prime for me. So I now getting the opportunity to actually create something and like do it well, and the costumes are great, and all these creators. We had like a crew of like almost 30 people, of just crew, who all came out, brought their gear, and yeah, we just cranked this thing out in 3 days. We shot at two different locations, one in Cruces, one in El Paso. Um, it came out amazing. We have stills right now on our IShape Instagram page. If you go and take a look at that, there's I think a trailer that we premiered there as well, and then we also have a few of the stills from the camera that we got. But yeah,
Cool,
that's what we're going on
cool.
right now.
Yeah, we'll put the links as always at the bottom. But yeah, go check those out. That'll be super cool. And so my last question, Eli, is what kind of like when you're not like how do you get your ideas, but kind of. I'm gonna ask that boring ass question. How do you like or when do you decide like, oh, this is something worth exploring, you know?
So, I'm a very visual person. I kind of like how I got into doing this as my job, my full-time job now. Um, I played with Legos back in the day, and I
Yeah.
love like creating little stories and things like that, building your own little worlds.
Yeah.
I had every original Batman Lego, like all his vehicles, and I would tear them down and make my own thing. Um, so anytime I would come up with like, I'd see a scene in my head, like, oh, dude, like it'd be kind of cool if like this guy was like jumping around and did this, and the shot was like this, and I would obsess over that. Usually there's a song that's also playing that I tie it to.
Hmm.
And then yeah, I just kind of obsessed with that for like a second. Then I'm like, okay, I gotta put this into a narrative because it can't just just be that.
Right.
And then yeah, I bring it to Pat. Pat is a amazing writer. Once I have something that I know that it's been in my head for a while, I'll storyboard it, show it to Pat. Pat will be like, dude, like, what if, like, okay, so he'll start building a whole little story, something that's 3 to 5 pages long. And then, we read it, we give it to our friends, some other producers, and then they go, yeah, like, that's actually really good. Cool. Let's do it. Sometimes we'll read it back and be like, man, that was, that sounded a lot cooler back then. Sometimes we film them and we're like, oh man, this should have stayed a storyboard. But no, it's usually how it starts. It's pretty much how a lot of our things have been made. If you go through our YouTube channel, it's anything that's on there are just things of like cool shots that we came up with on the day, and we're like, or like one day, and Pat wrote a story about it. So, or for me,
Nice.
wrote a story for me to be able to make it at least. So,
Yeah, that's cool. That's like the complete opposite of how I do it. I go like the opposite way where I think of the story first. And then I'll write the script and then I'll send it to Josh and I'll be like, "Hey Josh, can you give me the character designs for this?" And then that was in January and it's September and Josh is like sitting there not doing anything.
yeah, you get the gist.
Josh is being a serial killer.
Yeah, he's
He's
too busy.
busy.
It's like, "Hey Josh, can you get those character designs?" He's like, "I'm sorry, I got to go drive around at night."
I'm being unhinged
Yeah.
myself.
Oh, sweet. Well, that was a great non sequitur. We can't beat it. So, today's film, as always, we let our guests pick the film the first time they're on. And so, today's film is 2020's Unhinged by Derek Borte, written by Carl Ellsworth, who also wrote Disturbia. This guy just likes to write weird little genre films. I like it. And it
It's so
stars
good.
Russell Crowe. It stars Karen Pistorius, and it stars Gabriel Bateman. Oh, and it stars Jimmy Simpson, who you don't know who that is, but he's one of the McDoyles in It's Always Sunny. And everybody shows
I,
up as like a regular dude.
I did have to look that. It's Karen Pistorius, and you should know that because there's another famous person from South Africa with the last name Pistorius.
Well,
Not famous for good reasons.
Pistorius is such an iconic name. Josh, why don't you, since you want to be talking, man, why don't you tell us what this movie's about?
This movie's about he can happen to anyone.
Nice. I thought it would have been funny if you were like, this movie's about some girl who doesn't know how her
Yeah,
place and keeps bothering.
it's a reasonable man being pushed too far. No, yeah, it's about the most divorced conservative man alive on his worst day.
Yeah. I
Just-
like to think that nobody told Russell Crowe to be from the South. He just was like, well, he's got to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
so, Eli, why did you pick Unhinged as your first film?
well, so there was a couple, right? Of course, there's a couple
Yeah.
options, but
Right.
what's great about this movie is that I had no idea that this had came out until like this year.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend actually was like, "Oh, like I want to watch this movie." And I was like, "Okay, like sure, let's check it out." Played the
Yeah.
trailer for me and I was like, I mean, it's been a bit since I've seen my man Russell Crowe. So let me check this out. And yeah, we watched it and I my first initial thoughts of it were wow, like every time I go, why doesn't just someone just do this? Like, yeah, why wouldn't someone just walk into a coffee shop and hit you with a mug?
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't that happen? And this movie
Yeah.
kind of just did that for me. So it's kind of like, that's funny. Like, I kept asking myself these questions, like, well, why wouldn't they just do that? And Russell
Yeah.
Crowe's doing it. So I don't know. That kind of really stuck with me. It was really funny.
Yeah. I'm a little disturbed that every time you walk into a coffee shop, you're like, hey, why don't I just smash this guy's face in
Well,
with the comp? Because we go to coffee shops constantly.
it's true. But like, have you ever been like, oh, this guy, like this UPS driver, just walked out of his like thing? What stops someone from just walking in that or things like that?
Right. Yeah. I think so. Well, because I watched this movie. It came like on Amazon Prime. It's on Amazon Prime right now.
Yes.
And I remember watching it, and then I called Josh and I told him to watch it like the minute it ended, just because it's kind of one of those. I don't know. You don't see movies like this a lot, where they're kind of these tight little genre films that like don't
Yeah.
really like. It's just like, oh, this is a tight thriller. It has a little bit of something to say, but it's mostly like exploring the idea. Like in this case, it's about road rage gone too far, and it's like, oh yeah,
Exactly.
let's take that to its like not logical conclusion, but to where it could go if these things were lined up in the right place. And so I thought that made it for an interesting little and like I feel like Russell Crowe elevates this movie to like a different degree, because he's such
He
yeah
dude, the best thing about it too is like there's that part I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but like there's that part when he's like talking to was it like her sister's boyfriend or something? Like he has them all
yeah
tied up and all that. That scene for me, when I was like, man, Russell Crowe is peaking right
right
now. He is going at it, and I was like, ah,
yeah. Well, and that's why I like it because like it Russell Crowe is kind of doing the like Gerard Butler, Nicolas Cage thing
yes,
where he'll star in a movie that's like, this movie he could have just walked through this movie and not really tried. But he's like he makes this dude into like a creepy ass character. And
yeah, he's not
yeah.
like generic. He's very
Mhm.
like defined. Yeah,
Yeah, he
it's
makes
good.
it. Yeah. Well, and see, okay, and this is what I told Josh when I called him. When we were in screenwriting class, I remember that there was this thing, like our teacher was always like, when you write a character, like make sure that you write the best character to go on this journey. And I
right,
always think about that because like some of my favorite movies are about characters, like even The Empty Space is about she's not ready to go on that journey. She's kind of forced to go on that journey. And so that's why I was always like, what? But this one, I like it because they clearly took that advice to heart because it's like, who's the protagonist? Who's the protagonist in our evil road rage film? It's like, it's a girl who's always late and who doesn't really know how to drive. And like everything lines up perfectly for her to be the perfect victim for
And
Russell Crowe.
she's like, yeah, she's like a single mom. She's getting divorced. She's trying, but like I did
She
there
gets fired.
there was like like yeah, she has this like kind of shitty like, oh, I have clients. I don't even know remember
Yeah.
what her job is, but it's
She's
clearly
like a
like kind of
seamstress. Oh no,
like an
hairdresser. She's a
like an
hairdresser.
independent thing, not like
Mhm.
a set. And like she stops at a gas station to buy like a bunch of Powerball tickets. I'm like, oh, that's such a like poor person move because I totally have done that.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that later today. But yeah, and I think like, well, and also, I mean, Russell Crowe is clearly the star of this movie, but I think Karen, as Rachel, is like she does a real good job because she kind of makes you feel her frustration, without it
I
being too much.
I so for me, it was more like, man, yeah, like they set this woman up. I mean, I don't know, like they set her up to like not like in the beginning.
Yeah,
So I was kind of turned off up until like a while. I can't
yeah,
remember where I kind of flipped my switch to see her as the victim. I was just more kind of watching it go down for a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
because
Well,
it was
and
just
like
weird.
you've been in like okay, so I mean, essentially the premise, and this happens in like the first 10 minutes is she's super late. She's like late dropping her son off to school and like getting to her job and everything. And she's behind this guy who like zoned out at the red light or at the green light and then didn't go, and she's kind of like an asshole to him. And then he's like, "You should apologize," and then she doesn't, and then it kind of kicks off from there, right? But like you've been in that situation where somebody fucked up driving, you're like, "No, fuck this guy,"
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well,
and
even like, yeah, because I drive to El Paso and Las Cruces a lot, and I drive at like 4 in the morning, and a lot of times a
Oh,
car will like pull up right behind me and turn on its brights, like get out of the way, and as soon as you do that, like I slow down because like fuck that guy. But I do think about that like a lot. Like, what if this dude is like so crazy, just crashes into me? And I
well,
think that's like kind of what Eli was saying. That's a fear that everyone's had. Like everyone's been flipped off, or like you get the guy who honks their horn at you a little bit too much, and you're like, should I
or too
fuck with this guy?
fast.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
too
yeah.
fast. You're like,
Oh yeah,
dude,
and
just
and
agree.
like let's be honest. Sometimes you're probably in the wrong and don't realize it, and they're mad at you.
I've never been in the wrong, FYI.
I mean, Texas drivers are notoriously terrible.
There it is. There it is.
um,
I agree.
but no, I don't know. It's just one of those things where you'd be like, yeah, you don't know who's on the other. Let me actually ask you guys this though. And I was wondering about this when I was watching the movie because the premise is you pissed off the wrong person and then they're coming after you. But the very first minute of this film um, is him like outside of his ex-wife's house. I believe I don't know if they ever say that, but
Oh,
it's his ex-wife, and he breaks down the door with a hammer, kills her and the guy she's with, and burns the house down. So right away, like, oh, he is an insane murderer. Like,
Right.
he's
there's no question of
unhinged.
it. Do you think it would work better if you find out how crazy he is as it goes on, or do you like that it's like all up front? Like, no, this guy is
No, I think it.
unhinged.
Well, I don't mind that it starts like that because I like that part. But yeah, I think I would if I had done it, I would have just stuck with the girl like the whole time.
Slowly revealed
Mhm.
that how crazy he is.
It does
Yeah,
feel like a studio note to be like, no, we got to learn. Like, we need a cool opening to hook people.
and it is cool, but it's also like I don't know how you'd find that information out later without it being clunky.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
true.
exactly what I was thinking right there, Josh, is because I it's kind of a flip, right? Like it's like, okay, this guy is the killer. This guy's crazy. He's on med, like whatever, right? It keeps going, going, going. Then it's like, okay, now here's this person. She fucks with him. He starts fucking with her. I was already elevated just in the car. Just as soon as she was honking at him, I kind of already felt like, oh shit,
Hmm.
okay, like she's fucking with the wrong guy. Like, oh shit. And then he's talking to the son. He pulls up next to him. He's like telling him like, what does he say? Like something about manners,
Yeah, he
or
says
like, or
you got to give a courtesy tap. This is what he
courtesy.
said.
That's what it was. Yeah, it's courtesy tap, and then he like, does it, and it's like, okay, you can see he's trying to like,
Hmm.
you're also feeling his frustration.
Yeah.
So I think the way they did it was perfect, but I do kind of agree with Andrew. Maybe it was like two birds with one stone thing, where it's like, yeah, we need a cool hook in the
Hmm.
beginning.
yeah. Well, and
See,
you
and I
also go ahead.
well, I think about that scene that you're talking about because if you take that first scene out, that scene like Russell Crowe plays that scene so well that you would be like, why am I nervous around? Like, because he's not necessarily, he's actually kind of being like, she's in the wrong and he's kind of like trying to just like have a normal conversation. She's being a dick about it. And so the whole time I was thinking, like, if we hadn't seen that first scene, it's just Russell Crowe, you would kind of almost be on his side a little bit more. And so then when it flips, it's like, oh yeah, he's a psychopath. And I think that would have worked a little bit better
Yeah,
if they were going more for the like oh, this is like this could happen to everyone, but the movie itself is kind of going like, oh, Russell Crowe's a bad guy, so it still
Right.
works.
It's more like, well, and I think like with that scene, without that scene, like you kind of realize like, oh, he knows he's going to be
Yeah.
suicide by cop at some point,
Mhm.
like because they're gonna catch him eventually because he killed
Yeah.
his ex-wife. So it's like it's just like
Well, he even says,
who's he gonna take it out on,
yeah,
you know?
Right, right.
So it's not like it's like if it wasn't her, it would have been like the cashier at a place who was kind of addicted. It would have been someone like he's just a crazy person,
right.
you know?
Well, and I think at some point she says like, oh, you're never gonna get away with this, and then he says something like, oh, suicide by cop is a good way to go out. So it's almost kind of his plan to do it that way, you know?
Because he
Yeah.
says, I think there is a line like, yeah, he has nothing to lose anymore,
Yeah.
or something
Right,
like
right.
that.
No, and I totally get. I'm just saying, like, yeah, that's like he outright says it, but you would almost be like, why is he willing to go suicide by cop over this random traffic interaction? If you didn't see that first scene, you're like, oh, he's already gone. Like he's
Right,
already
right.
like off the deep end, you know.
Yeah.
So that is a pretty popular way for crazy conservatives to deny those. To like
That's a conservative special.
like the guy who like threatened to kill like Biden explicitly until the FBI came and shot him. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what was gonna happen. So
Yeah.
Unhinged
And
playing out in real life every day over here.
And I feel like every time that Russell Crowe has to go up against actual cops, he's just constantly getting shot or beat up. It's just children and women that he can have power over.
One of the interesting things though that Josh you just said is how like anybody could just set him off. Like it could have been the cashier. That would be like an amazing like sketch of like it wasn't the girl that like pistol like showing like an alternate universe, right?
Oh, right.
That it is like just
Yeah.
like I don't know like a biker just cutting him off or something
Yeah.
or like something.
They should- oh man, yeah, and those guys in those giant trucks hate people on bikes, like bike.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That would have been
It's-
funny if they just did a sequel and it's just him chasing a bicycle guy.
there's
Or
just-
like they block the road. They like, hey, like this exit's closed. The
Oh,
construction worker.
like a traffic. You know, it's one of those like you know who he looks like and kind of embodies is you know those guys who like they're wearing like sunglasses and they do like a yelling rant in their car like in the
Yes.
driver's seat.
Yeah.
Like he looked like so anything that would make those guys mad. It's just
It's kind of like Russell Crowe is super mad, but if he just had a YouTube channel where he complained about pronouns, I think he'd have a pretty good, sizable audience.
Yeah.
Also, Eli, I have a sketch that I wrote. I'll tell you about it after the podcast, but it's similar. It's pretty funny, but I'll let you know after. It's not for public consumption, guys.
Oh,
Um,
not yet.
gotta
Yeah,
keep
and
it
I think,
close to the
like-
chest.
Yeah, well, I just don't want someone to steal my idea. You know me. Can't be stealing my perfect idea of what if cartels existed.
I just like to say though that my favorite character in this is the truck because man, that truck goes through it.
I know. And so, like, that's again, like, I wonder how much conversations they had about what he was going to drive because it's such
Exactly.
an imposing, yeah.
It is. It's perfect with like the guard in the front.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. That's it. I'm like, oh, this is a perfect truck.
Yeah, and I think, like, I don't know, one of the things I like about this, and it's kind of one of the things that I have to get over as a filmmaker, is that, like, this movie is kind of showing the scenario, and it's really going for it. And I think, like, me, I'm always like, oh, but in reality, like, this might happen and it'll screw things up. But you kind of have to, like, just go with it. Like, there's a scene where he goes to a gas station, and the girl's, like, asking for help, and so, like, the gas station's like,
Oh,
oh, we're
yeah.
going to kind of help you. And then he, like, runs over a dude. And that by that point, it's like, oh, there's no going back. But I feel like the escalation happened so quickly, and I think if I had done this movie, the escalation would have taken way longer. But I think that makes it more interesting because you realize, like, because before he's just yelling and kind of chasing her, but once he does that, it's like, oh no, he's not gonna stop until she's like dead, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like you also have like an hour 30. Remember,
Right.
So like,
Oh yeah, the tight 90. That's
Yeah.
one of the
Great
reasons this
movie.
movie's great is it does not overstay its welcome. It like
exactly.
explores
The pace
its
is
premise.
good.
It's-
Like I was
It's really
watching it, I was watching it, and I was like, oh, how much longer is this movie? And it was like, oh, 20 minutes. Like, goddamn, I thought it just started, you know?
Yeah, it
But
really, really speeds things along. It is very funny too. They and you kind of know what movie it is pretty quickly. they have all these side characters in her life. You're like, oh, these guys only exist to be like murdered horribly.
I
Like
know.
her
Yeah.
best friend / divorce lawyer. It's like, what a weird character, but
And then
okay.
the husband's like, "Sorry, champ. I know we had planned to go to that baseball game, but I gotta work." It's like, damn, you guys are like, "We got it. We got these characters down."
I love to because he actually does this. His like way of stalking her is somewhat convoluted, but like you're with it pretty quickly. Where he steals her phone, but puts a little shitty flip phone like in her car to like keep messing with her.
Right.
But he goes through all her contacts because they do make it a point at the beginning where the son's like, "Mom, you got to learn to like keep your phone password protected," and she's like, "I'll get around to it later." So because of that, he's easily able to like
Foreshadowing.
access everything. Even her
Chekhov's
bank
gun,
app,
Josh. Yeah.
even her bank app is not password protected, which I find
Which it
very
doesn't even make
strange.
sense because you have to have them. Like, there's
Right.
extra protection on bank apps,
But
but
I, you know, like, but moving past that, he's like taunting her and like his first he kills her divorce lawyer / best friend, the
yeah,
McPoyle, and then he's like, oh, pick the next person I'm gonna kill, and it can't be yourself because I'm evil.
yeah,
And she's like, and she picks the name of the client who just fired her that morning, and she like kind of is like hates. She's like, yeah,
yeah.
go kill my former boss. And I
That's
was
such
like,
a
what a
funny
good
like.
move.
That's what I'm
Like, good
saying,
for
dude. What a
you.
shitty person. I'm
I
I
just
don't
kidding.
know.
know.
It's also like, man, and not only that, but the client was so apologetic. She was like, "Rachel, you're just not like I've been
Yeah, you're
trying
late
for
every
months."
day.
And then
Yeah.
Rachel was like, "Kill that bitch."
It's so good. She's also like, okay, like and, like he basically goes. She has this like shitty do nothing brother. He's like, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
look for a job
Yeah.
tomorrow.
right.
Um, and you know, he like kidnaps the brother, and then he's like, now go pick up your son from school and come here. And she's like, okay. And it's like, no, like you're really gonna like choose the
Also,
probably not safety of your brother over your child.
I know. And then
That's
also,
crazy.
so like then he sets the brother on fire and he gets hurt. And then they like she gets the son and they're like driving and now it's like the climax of the film. And the son is like, "Oh, do you still have your tablet? Because if like your iPad, you can track your iPad from your phone, like the Find My Phone thing." And she's like, "Yeah, but I looked for it." She's like, "Take another look and see if you can find it." Because I looked and it wasn't. And then he finds it. I just like the idea that there was like someone stalking her, and she just kind of half-ass looked for the tablet. Like she didn't do like a real good job of looking for the tablet.
What like or they're just setting her up to be like the most like what is it like irresponsible adult
I
ever.
know.
I also like just his idea because you could tell like it's almost one of those things where it was so easy to like kill his ex-wife Russell Crowe that he's like, oh, I like had all these plans to like do stuff like to track her and stuff, but I didn't need to, so I'm just gonna do it to someone else because like those guys like have like so many like it's like the survivalist crazy person thing where it's like then I'm gonna have a second phone just in case, and then like it's like he was like, okay, now I get to do all my cool tactical stuff to this woman who like cut me off in traffic.
I
You
know.
know, it's
Yeah.
it really is like the conservative fantasy.
And I do like that the whole through line is like I feel like they keep kind of because it's a pretty one note film. It's just like this guy who's like chasing this girl, but they like Russell Crowe has so much characterization that you kind of understand. Like he never outwardly says that he's like a MRA like incel kind of guy, but every time like when he's talking to the divorce lawyer, he's like a no good divorce lawyer who always sides with the woman, and it's like yeah. I don't. You don't need to like go. I know. I understand his character.
Right, like he drops enough hints. You're like, I know what this guy's about. I
Yeah,
know
Exactly.
Russell again.
I know
Yeah.
this guy would have been at January
And
6th.
also, Eli, what do you? Yeah, Eli, what do you think the budget was for Vaseline to make him sweaty? Because he's so sweaty
Uh
in every scene. Like he's pouring down sweat.
did they ever explain that? Because he's like shaking, right? Like, like as it's progressing, isn't he kind of like flipping
Yeah,
out?
yeah. He definitely looks like he's having like some kind of like he's on a coke binge or something.
Yeah.
But I kind of
Ah,
like that they don't explain that. He's so filled with rage.
I mean, I could see it. What my question though is,
There's like
what did,
adrenaline.
yeah, like what did you think of the scale of like the world that they built around it? Because it's like he chases her for a pretty good majority of the movie in
Yeah.
car.
And they're also like just crashing into other cars and
Yeah.
like nothing.
Oh man,
Well,
they
see,
like pancake that cop. It's
yeah.
awesome.
Not like he hits the cop's car and then like a huge semi truck just destroys the fucking whole like the middle part of the cop car. And it's like, oh, you guys like these people are dead. Like they're not.
Yeah,
See,
but like,
see,
did you feel like it was contained?
I like that it's almost like it's just a few hours, right? Like that's the
Right,
implication
right.
of like from beginning to end. Because it's like if you look at like this is like kind of a weird like side thing, but remember when the cops were trying to kill Dorner in L.A.
Oh yeah.
Chris Dorner, they messed up for like quite a while.
True, true,
Like they
true.
literally like lit up some random woman in a van and stuff. And it's like it takes the cops a while if they haven't found someone to like get their shit together. So even though they kind of knew who he was, I could see them just not really being a
I,
presence for like
I
the
do
length of the
think it's a
film.
little bit unrealistic, but I also think that like the kind of movie that they're doing, like this kind of grindhousey, you know, version of it, it's just like the world is a little off, so it kind of justifies everything else, and so I didn't mind it that much. What did you think, Eli?
Sorry, I was trying to figure out where this movie was taking place.
I don't know if it ever says.
I think it
That's
intentionally doesn't tell you, just so
Yeah,
like it could be any town.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Although it did look like Atlanta. Oh
it
well, how did you
was
did you think it
filmed in
was
Louisiana.
like? Did you think that the world was a little too unrealistic, or were you down with it?
So I no, I agree. Like, yeah, with like cops trying to get their shit together, like trying to get there, and like they keep getting calls, like little breadcrumbs, essentially, but they
Hmm.
keep like showing up late.
Right.
I believe it. Like, okay,
Yeah.
the one that did get me was the house alarm. I was
Oh
like,
right.
yeah, I was kind of like, okay, so that I don't know how it works, but like I just couldn't believe that a house alarm like they would get there that fast.
Yeah. Especially because every other time they're like way behind.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just something, and then it just happened to be the same cops. Like,
Right.
okay, I don't know. That was the only weird part for
They
me.
also when the brother he sets the brother on fire and pushes him at the cop. It's a very unrealistic. The cop didn't just shoot the brother like 20
Yes,
times
yes, that
because
too.
cops are not known for their discretion
Also,
in those
it's
things.
yeah. It's also funny because like, and this is we're gonna get into spoilers, but we're at 31 minutes. Go check it out.
It's
My
90
favorite
minutes.
is that they set like they tie the brother up, then he sets him on fire, then he throws him at the guy, and then they're like, "Oh, the brother's alive," and they're like, "He's gonna be fine." And I was like,
Oh
I
yes,
guess he'll be alive. I don't think he's gonna be just."
that part got me. You know what? No, I think I did laugh at that part too.
I
It's
love
like
it. And like
it's
his
like the new
girlfriend is
Scream.
dead. Yeah, his girlfriend is
Yeah.
dead, and you
Oh,
kill and you
dude.
set him on fire. He's gonna be very not fine for a while.
He even did the like didn't he like stab through the girlfriend to him at one
Yeah,
point? Or
yeah,
it's
I was like,
like, yeah,
Yeah.
he already was messed up before he got shot and set on
yeah.
fire. Like it's bad. Yeah.
So yeah,
But
I think, but that was like the only part that I thought. But I mean, it was like, I
The buildup
understand
was
it.
great.
Yeah, sometimes when you're writing a script, you fall in love with your characters and you don't want them to die. I get it. Um, I don't know why they wanted the brother to live because he didn't do anything, but still. Um, yeah, I think like, and I also like that it's very clearly practical effects. Like they're really ramming each other with cars
Yeah.
and like running it over, which makes
Yeah,
it
you
super
could really
cool.
feel it.
Yeah, because
I
I feel
mean,
like everything else, when you see like a CGI car, your brain instantly is like, "Oh, that's CGI." I think because we see so many cars that we like know the little stuff that makes it look real. You know.
right, right.
So when you
33 mil.
damn, it's pretty good.
yeah, it's a good. It's funny, and it's one of those like I said, if it was any longer than 90 minutes, I'd be like, come on, speed it up. But it's like no,
Yeah.
perfect length.
And
Yeah,
it's kind of one of those movies where it like I bet you this was like a write off for the studios. Like it was so cheap that they made a profit regardless, you know.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and so like I think that like again, these are like my favorite type of movies. Is kind of like $30 million, like, let's just explore an idea type of movies. Like, this almost feels like you don't want to watch it on Halloween, you know?
Yeah. Apparently, it made its money back and then a few extra million. So there you go.
Good for you, Russell Crowe. But yeah, and I think like he fits this role better than he does like the Pope's Exorcist because he does look unhinged.
Yeah, that beard isn't doing him
Yeah.
justice anymore.
Well, like in the Pope's Exorcist, they kind of want him to be cool, and you're like, no, you should really lean into how crazy he looks.
Yeah,
You
he should
know.
be so overworked that he looks like that.
Yeah, I prefer Zeus Crow.
Yeah. Yeah, if he's gonna have the beard and he doesn't want to look crazy, he needs the long hair, as exemplified by Man of Steel
Or Noah Crow.
or Noah. Yeah, lean into it, Russell. But I do like that Russell Crowe like definitely does not have to be doing these type of movies, but the fact that he's doing it, it's pretty cool. You know?
That's the other thing. Yeah, I didn't expect when I first saw it. I was like, "Is that Russell Crowe?"
Yeah.
That's what got me. Is that's I was like, "Okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's for sure do this."
Yeah. No, I think it's a good movie. I think it's interesting, and I think like the thing it has to say about how like people just kind of, especially now, where people just kind of take offense like to stuff that they really shouldn't. Like even when you're driving, I don't really honk at people because it's like who cares? Like everyone makes mistakes, but people get pissed, and so I think it's an interesting theme of like what happens when someone goes too far.
And also, questions for both of you. What do you think of the kid in this? Because usually kids in horror movies are like the head smack on the head, and you just
I
how
didn't.
did you feel?
I felt like he was more annoying at the beginning when he was like, "Mom, don't take the freeway." But once she picks him up, I felt like he was helpful.
It is almost funny. Like he's smarter than his mom. Like he's like, no, let's go to the police station. Like let's just do this. She's like, no, I have this plan that definitely won't work. It's just very like he's the one who kind of figures out like everything that's going on. I thought that was like a funny touch.
Because the mom is like, no, he's too smart. He'll figure it out. And it's like, is he too smart or does he just crash his car into everything?
there is a great there's a great moment where because you don't really see Russell Crowe at ease in this movie.
Right.
But when the kid has figured out like the iPad trick and they're gonna be like, oh, let's like mess up the settings so he doesn't quite know where we are. And it cuts to Russell Crowe just driving near them but not being able to see them. And he looks like just this crazy animal being like, huh?
Yeah.
Like he's just this like beastly.
Well, and I like one of the things I love about his performance is that he legit looks like he can't control himself. Like when he's talking to the divorce lawyer, like he tricks the divorce lawyer into thinking he's friends with the girl, and she told him to meet him there. And like they kind of get through it, and you think like when I was watching, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a long drawn out scene of like him playing cat and mouse, and it kind of is that. But then after a while, like he picks the phone back from the dude, and he's like, all right, fuck this, and he like smashes the cup into the other dude's face, and I was like, oh, they're like he's just going off, like there's not like
it's so good.
I like how like he's so crazy that he can't even get like because the guy is like, oh, this guy's weird, like clearly something's off about him, like it's one of those where it's like the facade does not last more than a couple minutes because he's like, oh yeah, this guy's messed up, but I don't know what. I almost want to see more scenes of Russell Crowe just trying to be normal, like a little bit, where he's like just so crazy it's coming out,
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, then at the end of this, if the Vatican was like, we need your skills to fight
fight the
demons for the Pope, and he's like, you got it.
So it all started like in A Beautiful Mind, or like Gladiator, A Beautiful Mind. This movie
somehow it's the through line.
He's just like living through all these lives. Yeah, he's like Quantum Leap, except he gets more deranged every time.
Damn, that's not a bad premise. No. Quantum Unhinged. I like.
See, and like it is kind of one of those movies where you kind of want to watch this one. I mean, I wonder. Like, this was the funny thing about this movie is this was the first movie that came back after COVID. It was like the first one in theaters.
Yeah.
And you kind of do like I do wish I had watched this movie in a theater full of people with like popcorn, because it's almost one of those horror movies where you like want to be laughing along with everyone else.
Yeah.
That's why I think it'd be cool for like a Halloween party, because like everyone like you don't really have to pay attention because it's not like there's not a lot of twists and turns, and so you guys can just be having fun, getting high, drinking some wine.
Yeah, very like you can be in and out and you'll get the gist even if you're not
Hmm.
like laser focused.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just might miss some good kills
Yeah.
as
You
well.
go up to your crush and you're like, I would have protected you from Russell Crowe. And she's like, oh, well, that's great. Let's go make out.
Oh, perfect date idea.
You're like I would have figured out that he taped the iPad but put a flip phone for you to communicate. She's like, no one could have done that. That's insane.
The amount of time that he did that is not feasibly possible.
That's not coordinatable.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, it's just one of those. It's
It's
so breezy and so fun.
it's a good tight movie. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. And I remember when it's kind of like one of those movies where I was just telling you should watch Unhinged if you haven't yet. It's on Prime. It's perfect. Go check it out.
Yeah, or like when people go like, "What do I watch?" Well,
Yeah, it's a good one because it's like if you didn't like this movie, I don't know, something wrong with you. It's just like a real tight, fun film. It's even like, and it's so tight and so short that like even if it was terrible, it's like it was 90 minutes. Who cares?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, a
Kind
good
of beast.
choice. I liked it a lot. So, Eli, any last thoughts on Unhinged?
Um, uh, I hate the ending. I'm not a big fan of the ending.
Why? Why did you hate the ending?
I don't know. It just seemed like so like I don't know where the final battle should like go down, but we're just gonna throw it in this random house.
It,
Yeah,
it was weird
it
for
should have
her
been
to
on
be
the
like
road.
I have a plan, and her plan is just to attack him in a house. Like it is an odd. Like
Yeah,
it almost should have ended. Yeah, like he crashes her car, and then they just have to like square off there. I
Yeah,
could see that.
yeah,
it would have been cool if they did it like because they're constantly driving around. Like El Paso has one, and the big metropolitan areas have them. Those like big, like where the freeway like goes in a bunch of different ways.
yes,
They should
yes,
have like had it at the top of one of those. Like that's where
yes,
they crash. Because
exactly. So
so much of it involves the cars.
and see like I think back to like Baby Driver, right?
Yeah.
The whole movie is about baby in a car, and then where do we have the final battle? In a car. Like it's like really
Right.
really
Right.
cool. So like I don't know, like it just seemed like why do I want to confine myself to a small space? And that could just be due to budget issues and stuff like that.
Probably.
But
Like I could see that. Yeah.
yeah,
Like I
but it's
think of
like
what it would take to like lock down the freeway. I'd be like, oh, it'd be so hard.
it's probably like
Yeah,
logistically was horrible.
they don't have
Yeah.
Matrix Reloaded money, guys. They gotta
Apparently not.
do what they have.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, and what's cool is like I do kind of maybe in a way I'm glad that it didn't end like on the freeway, right? Because most of this movie's been all practical.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
logistically to shoot on a highway probably could not be done, and if you could, probably for like an hour, and
Yeah.
they'd probably green screen that shit, and it would look horrible.
Right. Right. Yeah. I don't think
So
they had.
yeah, yeah. But all in all, great movie, great way to pass the time if you're folding clothes or just wanting to sit down like a little smoke sesh. Yeah,
Exactly.
You said like like you almost want to see the movie where it's like a cashier or like a barista or something. It's like they should do sequels, and it's just Russell Crowe, but like now he has like a different mustache, but it's a totally different character, but just
I know.
playing the same like just like a different crazy man
just another
going
man among
crazy on,
He's just
on
in a
s-
different
Santa.
city. Yeah. Like every time.
right. It's just tweak it a little bit,
The unhinged universe.
I'd
I
watch
know.
it.
And then at the end, they all team up to fight Donald Trump.
Oh my
And
god.
they're like, you
To
are
fight.
you're a leader. Now
You were the
betrayed us."
chosen one, yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
Up too
let's
strong.
let's
But
do
yeah,
it.
fun times. Well, thank you, Eli, for coming on.
Thank you two for having me. I love this. I really really did.
Nice. Yeah, next time we'll have to pick a movie for you to watch.
Yes, yes, please.
That'll be cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. Go watch Unhinged. It's on Amazon Prime. And yeah, let us know what you thought. Go watch The Empty Space. It's on Tubi. Go follow the links at the bottom to see some of the cool stuff IShape is working on. And we'll see you guys next time on the Bomb Squad. Let me stop.